realize that he is a leader. He is the president. He won the elections. We're to follow him. And all I see from the opposition is only negative, nothing things to report on. Whether it's a Mueller investigation, collusion with the Russians to sway out the outcome of the 2016 election. I mean, how did they do it? I mean, what did they do? They tampered into the ballot box? Did the computer screens? I mean, let's face it. There was the Russians didn't hack into the total of votes that reported from all the states. So it's just basically a witch hunt. And once they find something over there, and then they move on to the personal life of the president, character assassination daily from the get-go. Washington Post, New York Times, all of them, only negative reporting, nothing on unifying the country or motivating the lawyers, the Congress to get behind the president and work out something that's a benefit of the country. I mean, China has bullet trains all throughout their country. So does Japan. The infrastructure is so worn down and broken in America, it's pathetic. It's like a third world country. And here the president is trying to change that. You know, here we had, I happened to tune into public radio. I was in the car the other day, and Cuomo was being interviewed by Brian Lehrer, and he says, Cuomo says, I'm going to instruct a delegation on a list of, a congressional delegation of lists that we want changed because they're hurting our state. And the first thing he was mentioning was salt. We have to do away with salt, which is taxing up to $10,000 is allowed on income tax deductions for local and state taxes. And he said to Brian Lehrer, he said, this is a benefit for the rich. It's a benefit for the rich. Well, and Brian Lehrer didn't say anything. How is it a benefit for the rich if they have to declare all properties only up to $10,000? If they have properties all over the country, summer home, winter home, palatial home, they can't declare those taxes on a federal income tax as deductions. Or that tax is for the rich. We have to do away with salt. Well, listen, I mean, let's be honest and fair. What kind of reporting is this? What kind of media reporting that we don't get behind the captain who was elected captain and forget our petty differences of trying to characterization of President Trump? All right, they want to elect an angel, or who cares about his personal life? We want to get the job done to make America great again. And you don't see that from the opposition. It's only negative reporting, never mentioning any of the great wonders of lowering gas taxes, of job opportunities. Nothing like that. Only to use you're going to see pictures of gassing children pretty soon, I'm sure, when election time comes up. And there should be another law. You say Mr. Bloomberg donated $10 million to the Democratic cause a week before the elections. And I'm sure that those were targeted for the close states and try to evoke fear of losing the medical benefits and all of that stuff. And there should be no public TV commercials a week or a week before the election. There should be no advertising of a candidate's qualifications and what he stands for. No negative. That should be a law. No TV commercials or radio commercials a week before the election. Okay, we don't want to spend too much time on this subject, but we have a great deal to do. And, we have the Jewish Bible. We only have one Bible, right? That's the Bible, the Torah, which is handed down to us. And in that Bible, it says that in chapter 7, 6, it says, you should be holy because I, the Lord, am holy, and I chose you as a treasured people from all the people on the nation, of all the people and nations of the world. That's in chapter 7, verse 6. And chapter 14, verse 2, the same sentence. You should be holy because the Lord your God is holy and has chosen you as a treasured people from all the peoples on the face of the earth. Treasured nation. So what does it mean you should be holy? Holy means that you should emulate the deeds that we learn out that God has performed, giving us life and happiness and kindness. And we should try to give that over to other less unfortunate beings that never had the proper education, and to be a walking example, a light into the nations. I mean, you take the other religious ideologies, they don't, where they have a basis to start from. Where is their basic ground floor teaching? Or where do they start from? I mean, the Judaism, the Bible starts from the creation of the world and then how the Jews were picked. But where does the other ideologies fall into place? You know, somebody came out of a tent. Somebody said that you're a god, so the man god, whatever that is. We don't have that, you know. Now, before I forget, here is a picture of this program and other previous programs can be found on Yeshiva Classroom, on Google search. Google search Yeshiva Classroom. Get Google search, put Yeshiva Classroom, and you'll be able to get this teaching and the previous teachings that we taught. So, you know, in chapter 28, you know, the Holocaust, we don't understand God's ways. It says over there in chapter 28 in Deuteronomy, other places also, that you were, that chapter 28, verse 1 to 14, you keep the commandments that I taught you, and you will have peace, prosperity, and happiness. But if not, you will get the following curses, warning that will be for you if you go away from teaching, from the teachings and performance and observance of the Torah. And you look at 28, chapter 28, verse 59 to 61. It says over there that you will have a horrific punishment that has never been written about in this book. If you continue in your ways, you will have a horrific punishment that has never been written about in this book of Torah will happen to you. And we see that Israel, the Holocaust, where horrific events happened, men, women, and children murdered. I mean, I was reading, you know, everyone's read these stories, horrific stories of murder and killings that the Germans perpetrated against the Jewish people. And, you know, they have one part of Auschwitz where the trains came in, and the people were coming out of the trains, and they were ushered into this big, humongous room, and held about over 2,000 people, men, women, and children. German SS officer came out and said, everyone must undress immediately, we're going to the showers. And they had to undress. And then the doors opened and there was another big room. All went into that room. And the doors closed behind them. And then from 4 places up above, canisters are thrown in. The gas that killed. And within 5 minutes, all the people were dead. 5 minutes later, they had the exhaust fans turn on. All the gas is taken out. And the Sana commander were put in. The kapos, the Jewish slaves, had to water down, hose down all this mass of humanity that was stood up like a candlestick trying to reach air. And they lost their control of their bowel movements. And there was nothing but feces and all kind of filth in the room. So the Sada commanders came with the hoses, power hoses, and washed them, hosed it down, and hosed the room down. And then they came with crowbars and untangled the mass of humanity. And then they went to the dentist, who were able to extract any gold fillings that were in their mouths, and went further to this table that was set on wagon wheels, and it went right to the furnace, the crematorium, a great big huge massive furnace, and the doors opened up. The little train came in and dumped 4 or 5 bodies into the furnace and came back again and took for another load. This kept on going. So the bodies were cremated into ashes, and from life to death, less than 30 minutes. And the ashes were piled onto a truck that drove a few miles, dumped the ashes into the river. Life to death of thousands of people in minutes. Why? Oh, we don't understand God's ways? That's what they'll say. Well, how difficult is it to see the Torah, to read the Torah, to read the Bible. The Jewish Bible says this will happen to you. And there are numerous warnings beforehand. In chapter 8, verse 11, it says, behold, you will forget the Lord your God and not do the commandments, and you will accumulate wealth and riches and metals and cattle and property, and you will be arrogant, and you will claim that I accumulated this through my own working, through my own hands. No, God is the one that gives you strength to be successful. God is the one that gives you strength to be successful in chapter 8, 16. And it continues before that remember how I brought you out of the house of slavery into the desert, and I saved you from the wild animals that lived there, and I suffered you to hunger, and I fed you manna. I made you thirst, and I gave you water. And this is for your benefit, that you should realize that this is a testing world. And this is what the Gentile prophet in the Jewish book Balaam said, let me die, 23 Numbers, jump to 23:9. Let me die the death of the righteous. Let my end be like theirs. Let me die the death of the righteous. Let my end be like theirs. So, you know, there's a lot to talk about over there in Deuteronomy chapter 31:17. Deuteronomy, mark it down. You should be this way. You'll be able to look at something. You'll be able to read something. You're able to buy a book, buy a Bible, buy the Or Scrolls Bible. Where's the Bible that I have over here? Buy the Or Scrolls Bible. Here, this is the Bible I have. It's full English and Hebrew, and it's very succinct and he has all the prophets and everything, the 24 books of the Bible. Get that, art scrolls, it's on the 24 books of the Bible, whatever it is. So, what does it say over there in Deuteronomy chapter 31:17? 31:17, if I hide my presence, then they will be for devouring. God is speaking. If I hide my presence, then they will be for devouring. And the same thing in chapter 32, Deuteronomy chapter 32. Write it down, 32:20. If I hide my presence, then you will see what their end, E-N-D, will be. If I hide my presence, then you will see what their end will be. So everything is written in the Torah, but who's got time to study it? Who's time to read it? We never had an education. And here the Orthodox, I'm talking about the Orthodox, the others, who knows? Listen, how do these people that are observant, how did they become observant? I mean, they didn't go to school, they didn't go to a Jewish school, only had a smattering of education. You know, it's something that's born within you. You want to know law. Some people know that there's a God. Other people say, well, God is the common denominator for the Jewish people. And therefore, Judaism is something that all Jews must practice. You know, whatever way you get there, somehow you get there. But usually they're stuck. Once they get to the Orthodox synagogue, there's a very little chance and time for meaningful learning because the rabbis are doing all the talking. I mean, they know the stuff, and they want to try. They want to try to do good, but how much can they? You know, how much can you catch from all the words that they give? So that's why I always prepare the learning the 20 minutes a day, coming upon oneself to do these 20 minutes. Do it each day. Maybe you don't need the ideology book, maybe you like the law. This should be discussed with the rabbi, and you should be given this book, and you use it so that you can get to the next stage. If the rabbis got their own agenda. Each rabbi, I'm talking about the Orthodox rabbis, the other guys, they're Mickey Mouses, they turncoats, you know, wherever the sun shines, wherever they rationalize that I'll go here, I'll save the people. This way they'll grow up evil. Look, Chabad does a great job. Listen, there's no doubt about it that they're bringing Torah light. This is being recorded November the 11th, 2018, right? Monday, it's 11th or 12th, November the 11th, 2018, and what are they trying to do? They're still trying to find dirt on. They mentioned Jerry Nadler. We have to, impeachment. They're bringing out the impeachment. But when Clinton, he was the first one to absolve Clinton. Nadler from Brooklyn, right? Oh yeah. Oh right. So where were we? It says in Deuteronomy in chapter 16, you should appoint judges, shoftim. These are judges that take the law and decide what is the right thing, what's the way to act. Not that it's 21st century, and therefore we've got to change the law. We have to go by precedents. We have to study the books that went, the laws and the questions and the answers that went before I make a decision. These Mickey Mouse, the Rabbi Judies, they didn't go anything like that. They didn't have any. They took a crash course and who knows what, and became ignorant. And with that ignorance, they're going to inculcate their congregants to be ignorant. That's how it is. But the Orthodox and the Chabad, they got to stop preaching, and they got to have the people learning. Whatever it is, whatever level of that, give them a book. If I ever hit the lottery or whatever they call the mega, whatever, and I had that big money, oh boy, I would pay people. I would pay people, and I would set up storefronts. You do the 20 minutes a day, we'll pay you $1. and you do it for a week, we'll pay you $10. And the whole thing, we'll pay you all out. That'll be great. What can I tell you? Look, who's increasing now? You know, the Haredi, you know, the Haredi, the Hasidim, and those that non-Hasidim that are very attuned and believers and followers and make pattern their lives out of a Torah walk wherever they are. And we see that the Jews are breaking out of these small confines like we have in Westchester County, you know, Kiryat Yol and those communities that are become so saturated that they have to go to other communities and start and start their families because it just there's no housing left in communities like Muncie and Spring Valley. So they're going up to Chester and beyond, and here the manager of Chester said, "Hey, we're gonna buy up the land. We can't let this is blatant discrimination. We can't let the Orthodox come over here and take up our land and make it unpleasant for the rest of us. This is blatant discrimination." And you have it in Brooklyn. They're going over to Staten Island, to Willowbrook. They're finding new communities to inhabit and to bring up their families. And you know, you got to give them credit with 10, 11 children as the medium number. I mean, most are above that. Many are above that number, but these are true heroines. Those women that are able to bring up large families and spread the belief in Torah. I had some other things over here that we have to remember, and that is you know, the evolution that we have to knock down, because look, this is picked up from the street here, the leaf of an oak tree, right? And you see the veins and tributaries of the substances that are brought from the ground to give sustenance to the leaf, and so by able to produce a fruit or a vegetable, which happens to be something that man needs, coincidentally, that man needs to live, right? The vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, all those things were planted in the earth. This is an oak tree, right? But an oak tree produces acorns, which are the food of the squirrels. But man has been given all of these foods. You say, you know, man needs so many different types of foods and clothing. You know, how does he need so many needs? And the answer is that this gives him more opportunity for us to ask for clothing, for riches, for sustenance, for food, for health, right? There's so many things, so many aches and pains, so that we can ask God Almighty to help us and request of His teachings and His help, because everything comes from God, and this gives us more opportunities to be able to pray, to request, to realize that there is a God who is in control of everything, in spite of what we might have as far as doctors and all those things, which are paramount to our well-being. But God is in control of everything. So you ask the question, well, how does we ask the question, God knows all of our needs, all of our wants. Why do we have to pray? He knows what we need. The answer is that we should get accustomed to praying to God and realize that there is a God, and therefore we should pray. We should pray to the Almighty, who has given us life and health and happiness, and hopefully we can serve God. Serving God means performing. God doesn't need anything. Right? How could you possibly serve Him? The only reason is that He wants us to follow and observe and perform the commandments which He dictated to us. And Moses in Deuteronomy chapter 31:24. The God dictated the Torah to Moses, and Moses wrote 12 copies, one for each tribe, and originally put into the Ark of the Covenant with the Ten Commandments. There was the Ten Commandments, and the first set of the Ten Commandments were underneath. All this was in the Aron. And what do we have in Zechariah chapter 14:14? It says over there, all nations, when the Messiah, when the Mashiach will come, all nations will worship Hashem at Sukkot time. At Sukkot time, all nations will come and ask a Jew to grab hold. They'll grab hold of his fringes and ask to be taught the teachings of Judaism, and all the world will come to Jerusalem, and especially it mentions at Sukkot time, especially, and we all will pray to God that He is the creator of the heavens and earth, and everything comes from Him, and we are to live this life by using our free will to teach virtuously in all our interactions, so that we may earn a place in the next world. So that's some of the things that we should realize, and 16 is we should appoint judges. 17 we should appoint kings. 18 we should appoint prophets. And if you realize that in Kings 2, verse 17, it talks about the destruction of the 10 tribes, right? The 10 tribes of Israel. There were 10 and 2, right? They were split off when Solomon's son, Rehoboam, was too harsh on the people. Nathan the prophet told Yeroboam ben Nevat to break off and form another kingdom temporarily, not forever. He didn't listen. That was Yeroboam ben Nevat. He did not earn the next world, Olam Haba. But what happened to the book, Behold the People, tells us who the kings were and who were the prophets who administered to them. And then we have Amaziah, Azariah, Nadav, Achaz, who was the father of Hiskiyahu. Hiskiyahu was a very righteous king. He followed the Torah to the 10th degree. And what happened? Sennacherib. First Shalmaneser came, and he exiled the 10 tribes to Samaria, and he brought the Samaritans down to Samaria, to the west bank, that we know, the west bank of the Jordan River. And they were bitten by the lions, so they had to bring a Kohanim from the 10 tribes to teach the people who were transplanted into the West Bank about the laws of the Torah, and they took the Bible as their Bible, and they got rid of the lions. There's a whole story over there, but but those were the 10 tribes that accepted the Bible. But I don't. But their descendants are called Samaritans today. The Jewish, they converted, but I don't know if it was such a good conversion that they accepted that conversion. But they're found in Samaria, on the West Bank, Samaritans.